Oh, hello friends, how are you today? I hope you're doing well. I am filming this on the same day as a different video, so I thought I would just change my hair ever so slightly. I don't know that that matters, but let's go. Today I wanted to come to talk to you a little bit more about the romantic, and I do put it in finger quotes, relationships that I've had in my life and how they inform my entire life story in a major way. If you have been following along here, you know that I often just joke, and it's not really a joke, but I do joke about not being a people person and being, having pretty much everybody be expendable, especially if it's a guy and you start to get on my nerves. And I'm kind of really like that. And I have had romantic, or what you would call a sort of a romantic relationship with men before. I've had about 3 official relationships in my life that lasted a total of no more than 4 years. And one guy I dated for 2 years. So that just goes to show you, but it's not just with men, it's just with relationships and just the struggle, honestly. But the point is, at the end of the day, when I look back on them, I don't think I never called myself somebody's girlfriend. I don't think of any of them as my exes. That's such a weird thing. It was a learning experience, and basically, like everything else, these relationships were basically spiritual assignment. The first guy that I dated, he taught me a lot about what I should expect from a relationship, just because he was a very well-mannered guy. And I really, really learned a lot from him. The other 2 were a little more lost, but all 3 of them had something in common. And it was that they had a great deal of spiritual protection. And now the 2 that were extra lost, it was easier to see it. They had an amazing group of friends around them. Their parents were not that great, but their friends were incredible. And they had a support system in these friends. And one of them was actually kind of like a party guy. And he still had so many people who were constantly looking out for him that he made it through life pretty successfully because of that. And I was part of the spiritual protection and spiritual assignment to these men, because all 3 of them had very traumatic things happen to them while we were together that were a result of their behavior before we even met. And I helped to usher them through this very difficult time. The first guy was, and this was something that we argued about constantly throughout the relationship, he was a reckless driver. He drove too fast. He blew through yellow lights, stop signs. He sped. It got to a point where I just stopped driving with him because he wouldn't listen. And everybody told him he needed to calm down, and he did not listen. And one day I was working out at the gym, and I got a call that he had been in a car accident and he hit a woman and killed her passenger. And so it was very, very traumatic and dramatic. And it took many, many months to get through the whole thing, because there was a trial, because they were trying to figure out who was really truly at fault. And it was a trauma. We made it through. He made it through, and he had issues before that he didn't fall back on because we made it through together. And shortly after that, we broke up because we got into a fight. And then you know how you get into a fight with somebody and then you kind of go back to try and talk to them. And I found that he had started talking to his ex-girlfriend again. And so I just left and moved on. The next relationship I got into, it was a guy who had this very strange abusive relationship with one of his best friends from home. And one night he was back home, and his friend got drunk and beat him up. And his friend broke his wrist and his tooth, and he like blacked his eye. The guy was all messed up. And so I helped him to more emotionally recover from that, and physically. But it was very interesting because I could tell the guy was going to go back to the friend. And he had a lot of other issues that we could go on and on about. And then the last relationship is well documented in the book. It was a doozy. There's a lot going on. It was the one that had the most spiritual energy, the most drama, and the one that changed my life, impacted my life the most, and it was the shortest. But it was partially because it was a relationship that I entered into for the wrong reasons. It's all written in the book. It's a lot. It's very dramatic. But all three of the relationships that I was in that would be considered more official, plus every platonic or even just acquaintance relationship that I've had, there haven't been a lot of them. They have been very, very meaningful. And I consider them all now, looking back at a ripe older age, as spiritual assignment, because I learned very valuable lessons from each and every one of them. I gave a lot of myself, and I really did help these people through something very, very traumatic for them. But that is it. That is the basic backstory on my romantic life. It really hasn't been very romantic. It's been more like a job. This whole life for me has not been very romantic, other than the romance that I have with myself and that I create for myself. It's been toil and labor, but it has been very interesting. Obviously interesting enough for me to create an entire memoir about it at only 45. So I just thought I would give you that little insight, because I feel like it's going to help a lot of people understand me better, because I think when people look at me, sometimes they wonder what my deal is when it comes to that. Like, do I want a man? Do I need a man? What was I doing with the guy before? What am I doing? What am I looking for now? And it really has always been the spirit moving me into these situations, and them being really very, very meaningful, especially for the person that is, I don't want to say this to sound cocky, but blessed enough to have made my acquaintance, because I really do have everyone's best interest at heart, especially if you're a romantic option for me. And I do come into people's lives to make it better, to uplift. And I believe that every single one of these gentlemen would admit that, even afterwards, because I never did anything that would make them be upset with me, other than not ever turn around and go back. That, you know what I mean? But I don't look back. I have tattoos on my arms. They say "once around," and they're on the back because, like, you know what I mean? You're going to see them as I walk away. But that's only if I'm walking away. And so usually I'm walking away. However, this is the thing. If I ever did come across the right guy, that changes everything. But every guy is not the right guy. 50 guys are not the right guy. 2 guys aren't the right guy. Only 1 guy is the right guy. So if I find him, I will definitely know. And then everything will change. I will become a completely different person in his light and he in mine. But until that day, my light shines. And if it shines just like this for my entire existence in this human plane, that is enough. That is the beauty of being self-sufficient, self-aware, self-absorbed, self-centered, and to have self-love. Somebody else doesn't complete you. You know, this isn't Jerry Maguire. This is real life. And like, do I look or vibe like anything like the lady from that movie? No. Maybe that's that vibe, but that's not mine. But I would like somebody to compliment me. Even if it's just like, hey, you're cute. I mean in the other way, but you know what I'm saying? I'm looking for that. Anything short of that is just a waste of time. Anything short of the one is a waste of time. Ask anyone who's not with the one, who's ever not been with the one, you know what I mean? And you're just like, what? Like, you learn something and you really go out of your way, but it is a waste of time at the end of the day. One thing that all of the relationships did have in common is we were sort of like inseparable, or not inseparable, but like I'm the kind of person where I just like to hang out with the person all day. And I need somebody who I could be next to all day, and they really don't change my vibes. Like, they add to the thing. I just love to just hang around all day, because that's what I used to do with my grandmother. And so every relationship I had, we would like fall into this pattern where we just really enjoyed being around each other all the time. And every single time we inspired the people around us, like the guys' friends, to try and do better. Like, everybody was always doing better and having like on their P's and Q's and on the up and ups when I was with whatever guy I was with and hanging out with their friends. And I always really enjoyed seeing that, seeing people rise to their best, which is really cool. And because there were a lot of positive parts. And we were always having fun. Like, no matter what, we were having a good time. And the things that really ended the relationship were issues that these people had before that really had nothing to do with me, that sort of collided with me because I was interacting with them. And truthfully, like, it really never was anything else. Like, I'm not a perfect person, obviously. So I was never perfect to any of these people. But I never really did anything to offend them or to upset them. That's not why we ever parted ways. It was always something that was lurking under the surface before we even got together that sort of unearthed itself during our relationship. You know what I'm saying? But at that, even that, it was all a very valuable lesson. And if I did, you know, I hope that these boys look back and say, I'm here now in a better place than I would have been because of her, because she really did help me through a rough time. I hope they at least remember me for that, because that is what I remember about what I gave during the relationships to them. And we also had a lot of fun. And so they gave that back to me. And I'm looking for somebody to give it all to me, or I will give it all to myself. Either way, I'm golden. Anyway, love you. Bye.